Third federal shooting in Minneapolis sparks outrage and protests. Minneapolis, federal law enforcement agents shot and killed a 37-year-old man in South Minneapolis on Saturday morning, marking the third such incident involving federal agents in the city in less than 3 weeks. The latest shooting occurred amid an ongoing immigration enforcement operation that has drawn intense criticism from city and state officials. According to Minneapolis police, the man was fatally shot by U.S. Border Patrol agents during an early morning operation. Police Chief Brian O'Hara said the man was a Minneapolis resident and believed to be a U.S. citizen who legally owned a firearm. Law enforcement said he was armed when approached by officers, though officials have not released full details about how the confrontation unfolded. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, described the incident as a defensive use of force, saying federal officers were conducting a targeted operation when the man approached them with a handgun and resisted attempts to disarm him. The DHS account also stated the man had magazines and no identification on him. Protesters gathered at the scene as police worked to control the area. Chemical irritants were used by law enforcement on crowds that had blocked streets near the shooting site, police said. Chief O'Hara declared the gathering an unlawful assembly and urged people to disperse. This shooting follows 2 other federal-involved incidents in Minneapolis in recent weeks. On January 7th, an ICE agent fatally shot Renee Good, 37, during a separate immigration enforcement action. That incident fueled widespread protests and political clashes after video footage and witness accounts raised questions about the circumstances of the shooting. Between those events, a Venezuelan man was shot and wounded by federal agents in another encounter, underscoring the volatility of immigration operations in the city. These successive shootings have heightened tensions between local officials, community members, and federal authorities. Political leaders have weighed in strongly. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has sharply criticized the federal actions, saying Minnesota has had it with what he described as aggressive and harmful enforcement tactics. Elected officials at the state level and civil liberties advocates have also called for independent investigations, limits on federal operations, and accountability for agents involved in the shootings. Supporters of the federal presence counter that the agents are responding to criminal activity and protecting themselves and the public, pointing to the presence of a weapon in the latest incident. House Republican leaders issued statements urging cooperation with law enforcement and warning against confrontational tactics by protesters, reflecting the deep partisan divide over the issue. As investigations continue, city leaders and community groups are pushing for transparency and answers about federal rules of engagement and why 3 people have been shot by federal agents in such a short period. Local authorities have also brought in additional law enforcement resources to maintain order as protests and public concern remain high.